Hello everyone, welcome back to TCF Sport. My name is Ben, as ever, joined by someone already taking the piss out of me. How you doing? You okay? Brexit Steve over there?
Oh, so I'm taking the rise out of you?
I don't know, I thought you because you're looking at the camera.
I was just being funny. When you was looking at the camera, I was looking at you. And when you was looking at me, I was looking at the camera.
So, fair enough. I thought you because of the way I looked at the camera.
No. So when you look, I was like... and then you look at the camera, I look at you. I don't know.
Fair enough, I take it back. I apologise.
That's okay.
Profusely.
Don't worry.
Yeah. How you been anyway? You okay?
Yeah, not bad, thanks, self.
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad at all. You seen the highlights from the Brighton-Chelsea game? Because that's kind of where I want to start straight away.
I did, actually, yeah.
Was it Mitoma's goal? Was it a full tickaboo for you?
Bit overrated, really, I thought.
Right. Disagree straight away. Here we go. We're back, baby. We're back. Why do you think it was overrated?
I thought it was a proper tickaboo.
Okay, I had to say.
Tickaboo!
So we're actually going to agree.
No, it was a very good goal. Fantastic first touch.
It's all about the touch.
Yeah. It's all like you've hit the nail on the head. It's all about that. Lovely finish. I don't agree with Jamie Carragher's comments about it's Messi-esque and all that sort of thing. What a load of nonsense. That's just clickbait.
Yeah.
And I was saying to Dad before we were recording, I think the goalkeeper could do a little bit better with the finish because it wasn't hit that hard.
I think he got a hand onto it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But take nothing away. The whole move, the long ball, to bring the ball down, and that's what beats the defender, bringing that ball down.
Because it's how he brought it down, isn't it? It was all in one motion to bring the ball down, which meant he could have the second touch to take him into the space.
Which gave him the space to then hit the ball.
Yes, yeah. And yeah, I know the keeper could have done a bit better, but I'm almost glad that he didn't save it because we got that.
That's what we want. We want entertainment, don't we? And it was a shot from outside the box.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, had that been City or Arsenal, he'd have taken it down and he'd have gone, right, where can I pass sideways?
Yeah. A bit like Odegaard earlier, because the amount of times that he had the ball on the edge of the box and did he shoot? No, he tried a little dink into Trossard over and over and over again. But
I wouldn't know. I've not watched it. But if you want to compare it, I was racking my brain of who could you compare it to, and we always do Arsenal players all the time. They're bringing the ball under control. I'd liken that to Berbatov because he was quality on that. A lot of killing the ball in the air and and killing it dead, bringing it under control. And obviously, I will compare it to an Arsenal player. The finish, Henry, a little bit because he used to bend the ball, but obviously Mitoma was more central. Henry used to come off the left and bend it into that corner.
Yeah.
No. But yeah, the touch was definitely that did remind me of Berbatov, the way he killed it off.
Yeah, but just because I said
Messi, sorry,
no,
yeah, Messi, it was not.
Well, I mean, I knew you were going to have a reference to Jamie Carragher with his.
I was spitting when I heard that. Absolutely spitting.
Have you seen? Was it you that sent me the stuff to do with Matt Letizia and Jamie Carragher? Have you seen?
Maybe I've seen him talking on the podcast.
Yeah.
But then the other day I saw something where he's commented on something about it.
But there was.
I'm not sure if you sent me that or.
I think
I was trying to find it again. But...
No, I think it was. Was it a comment on Twitter from an Arsenal fan account because I had a picture of Gabriel.
It was the Man United fan, the Trey something.
Oh, United Trey. Okay, but it's slightly different. But I think the Arsenal fan had commented because Jamie Carragher was critical of Miles Lewis-Skelly's celebration, mimicking Erling Haaland.
Yeah, and United Trey turns around and says, I wouldn't really listen to this bloke about his morals. He spits on children. So words to that effect.
Yeah.
And Letizia was like, and made his comment because obviously on the podcast, I think we've discussed it, haven't we, where he got a call from him saying he wasn't happy.
You can't bring that up on TV or whatever else.
I can do what I want. With freedom of speech.
Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, it was Jamie Carragher's action. But anyway, what you said about him saying that Mitoma's touch and finish was Messi-esque, it then also brings me back to what he said after the Liverpool-Tottenham game in the League Cup semi-final, so when Liverpool beat them 4-0 the other week. Talking about Van Dijk, naturally. And not only is he saying that he's the best centre-half the Premier League has ever seen, he's saying that he's levels above other centre-halves that we compare them to. Like, there isn't even a comparison. It's just too easy for him.
Is that who he's talking about? Because I've literally just seen that clip about he's in another league or something.
Yeah, that's who he's referencing, Van Dijk.
Because I turned all that stuff off because I was just like, what a load of nonsense. You've beaten a very average Tottenham who are so hot and cold, it's untrue.
But without a lot of their first team players as well.
Yeah.
And that's to take nothing away from Van Dijk. To me, he is in the conversation, if we're having a conversation about best Premier League centre-backs of all time, as we have done occasionally. But to say that he is levels above other centre-halves, especially when I get the ability, wonderful player on the ball and an excellent defender. But if you're also then bringing into the debate trophies, he has won one Premier League title. Obviously, nothing to mock about, but you compare it to John Terry or Rio Ferdinand or Vidic.
I've won 7 Premier League titles on FIFA. What?
But alongside that, he only joined Liverpool when he was 27. And yeah, obviously he's still going now 6-7 years later. But John Terry came through Chelsea's academy, just to compare it to him, and was still playing there 35, 36 years old. I think when Mourinho returned to Chelsea and they won the league in 2014-15, John Terry was mid-30s. He started every single game, something like that. He was pretty much a feature of the whole season.
You said, didn't you, Benitez was trying to phase him out and Mourinho brought him straight back in.
Came back in. It was only the only title that he didn't play regularly, but obviously still has a Premier League medal, was Conte, and that was the last season that he was at Chelsea.
Well, you've got to consider the source. He played for Liverpool. He's now a massive Liverpool fan. It's rose-tinted glasses. I can't remember which manager said it, but there's also that quote about everyone thinks they've got the prettiest wife at home, haven't they? So, and I've got to be honest, it's a bit like with Neville these days as well. Whenever they talk, I'm just like, oh, mute.
Yeah, I mean...
Turn it over. I'm so bored of it. Honestly, I'm so bored of all the...
Only to bring it back to Arsenal, because we notice it more as Arsenal fans, but specifically the stuff to do with Miles Lewis-Skelly and Gabriel. I mean, Gary Neville talking about... we beat City 5-1 the other week. When we went 1-0 up, Gabriel sort of celebrated and not majorly, just gave him a cheer as he went past Haaland to rub it in.
I'll let you finish, but that wound me up, and I'll tell you why in a bit.
Yeah, because so Gary Neville afterwards on his podcast saying, "Oh, if I was Gabriel, I wouldn't be doing that." Do you not remember Haaland chucking the ball at Gabriel on the back of his head?
No, but that was banter. That's all right. That was banter. We can do that. It's Haaland. It's only a joke. But stay humble.
If I was a City fan, if I was an Arsenal fan, if I was a City fan, I like Haaland throwing the ball at Gabriel's head. If I'm an Arsenal fan, I like Gabriel giving it back.
Yeah.
You want a bit of needle. It's nice. It's like Rio Ferdinand talking about, he was on commentary, the 2-2 draw of Everton the other day, Decore winding up the Liverpool fans, which then led to the fight at the end of the game. Rio Ferdinand saying, "Oh, these are scenes we don't want to see." Paddy Power put out a tweet, literally everyone wants to see this because it's a bit of needle. Obviously, you don't want it to boil over into punches being thrown and stupid things like that, but you want a bit of angst on a football pitch.
A bit of banter. Like, a bit of taking the rise. I'm not being funny. He's celebrating what? A draw.
Well, that's what Van Dijk said.
That's their levels, isn't it?
That's what Van Dijk said after.
But, yeah, again, consider the source. Rio Ferdinand said, "Oh, we don't want to see that, blah, blah, blah." Gary Neville was celebrating in front of the Liverpool fans, doing that with the badge.
He went like that.
Sort of thing.
I know.
Kissing the badge. I know Man United were at home, but
it's the same sort of thing. He literally ran 50 yards to go and celebrate in front of that corner, no?
And it's like with the celebrations, or Lewis Skelly was out of order, like because Haaland at the away game, wasn't he? He was like, "Who are you?" and all that sort of thing.
Exactly.
Again, bit of banter.
Yeah.
Like, it needs to be taken for what it is. It's just a bit of a joke. Like, get over yourselves.
But then sometimes, as we said, it feels like there needs to be talking for the sake of talking, isn't it? There has to be talking
there's
on some...
that, but I didn't see any punditry annoyed with Dijk. And actually, we got more annoyed the fact that he got booked for pretending to be a seagull.
Yeah.
Jamie Vardy's been doing it for years. And Sky have got on their YouTube like clips of shiphousery moments and all that sort of stuff.
Jamie Vardy's best moments.
But yeah, exactly. Yeah. But and again, we're going to sound like the conspiracy theorists, but when Arsenal do it,
feels like held to different standards. But I mean, taking off my Arsenal hat, if any player did that, depending on the scenario, obviously if it's against my own club, I'm going to be pissed off, naturally.
Yeah, but we laughed when Spurs did it in the League Cup,
We literally said it on the podcast that Son's giving it like that to Arsenal fans.
And Tissue's looking laughing at us.
It was funny.
It's like,
yeah.
You still go, "Oh, you bastard."
Yeah.
But that's what it's supposed to be.
They've earned the right to do that because they scored a good goal and ultimately they won the game.
Oh, chances
on
he
our
missed
patch.
Villa in the FA Cup, and I think
Son.
Oh yeah, he's off the boil, isn't he?
Really off the boil.
But going back to Gabriel, that annoyed me, him screaming in Haaland's face, because it was only 1-0.
I know.
Do it at the end of the game.
I know.
Go up to him. That's where you go up to him, shake his hand and go, "Stay humble."
Yeah.
Like,
or just like what Pep Guardiola did when he was pointing to 6. That's all he had to do, wasn't it? Because it 5-1. What's the score, Pep? 5-1.
115 charges, which they bought themselves out of.
Yeah, I mean...
we knew that because Guardiola signed a new contract, Haaland signed a new contract. So.
The ruling is still to come in about that, but the associated party transaction rules, the ruling from the tribunal went in City's favour yesterday, so...
I've got to be honest, I was reading it and it all just seemed so complex and I was just like, this is boring me. They've paid them off.
The associated party transaction rules are to do with sponsorship deals linked with the club's owners. Okay. So ensuring they're rated at fair market value and not overinflated. But City have had a win there. And it means that...
Even though the OKX sleeve sponsorship was apparently just when it was first made. Yeah.
Or the fact that with these deals, I think it means City ranked above Real Madrid in Forbes's rich list or money generated. Now, with the greatest of respect, I know City, the amount of success that they've had, they're going to be earning a lot of money, of course. But Real Madrid are arguably the biggest club in world football.
Owned by a bank.
Like, no club is going to come above them.
Well, there you go. That's the problem, isn't it? Real Madrid are owned by a bank. City are owned by a country.
Well, so are Newcastle now as well. So, but that ruling could have dire consequences for the Premier League if the amendments they introduced, I think in November last year, are then overturned. But that's for a different. That's technical, and I'd rather just talk about the football, which then leads me on to Liverpool. That I want to start with because you messaged me after the Everton game about Michael Oliver. So do you want to bring up what you said?
Yeah, what I said was Michael Oliver gave a knockout, a penalty. Oh no, that's not what I said, was it? Sorry.
You said it on the last podcast and the podcast before that. And the podcast
every
before
podcast
that.
until the end of the season. And then I might go again next season. I might open with next season's podcast going, did you know that in season... I said, if I was a Liverpool fan, I would not want Michael Oliver refereeing any of my games until after the League Cup final.
Yeah, because to play devil's advocate to that, they have 5 Premier League games before they play that cup final. Okay. So obviously, the sendings offs that he handed out at the end of the Everton game, they should all be back well in advance of the League Cup final. I don't know if he's going to be refereeing Liverpool, say, in 2 or 3 games' time, but I completely take your point.
He shouldn't be. He shouldn't be, because he can have an effect on that final, can't he, by sending off players.
Mm-hmm.
So, but even like we've seen the comparison, and there's something that's been said, but like the handshake Arne Slot did compared to Guardiola a couple of seasons ago.
You sent it to me on Twitter. It must have been to do with something that was said, but it certainly...
Nah, it's all about me, innit? That's all it is. But I mean, going back to the Decore thing, celebrating in front of Liverpool fans, Curtis Jones doesn't need to react like that. Like, just have a bit of maturity, just walk away and just be like, you only drew, mate.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you're still 7 points clear at the top of the league. Like, what are you worried about? It's not like you got done at Plymouth away, is it?
Which we will come to. But I mean, so you're saying that they don't need to be worried or anything like that. That leads me on to the next question. Is the last week, so the Plymouth result and the Everton results especially, just a blip for Liverpool, or is there wider cause for concern?
No, it's a blip. We said they're going to have a blip, didn't we? They're not going to be 100% all season. It'll be interesting to see how they react from it. But yeah, it's just a blip. Like they're not going to win every single game. They're going to have a few draws. Like they've only lost 1 all season, I think, haven't they?
Against Forest, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So they probably will have another loss at some point.
But I know I echo your sentiment that it is just a blip. Also because had they held on for 30 seconds more against Everton, don't get me wrong, Everton were great value for their point, but had Liverpool held on, it would have been the argument of, oh, it's a sign they're champions because they've won without playing well. So, and as much as it was annoying to
Everton deserved the point, though, didn't they? From what I've read,
with the chances that they had, they really took it to Liverpool. I mean, fair play to them, and David Moyes especially since he's come in.
Moyes curse strikes again, though. Can't beat the big teams. Spurs aren't a big team. I know he's beaten them. Spurs aren't a big team.
He destroyed Tottenham.
So's Daniel Levy.
No, he's done well since he's come in, but
he's got more points than Amorim.
Or since he's been appointed?
He's got more points. I saw a stat the other day. He's accumulated more points since coming in than what Amorim has for Man United in the league.
Even though David Moyes has only been in charge of 5 games?
Yeah.
What?
That's what they're saying.
That is mental. Absolutely mental. I have to check that one out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, did you watch any of the FA Cup game between United and Leicester?
I saw the highlights and I think you've written it down there, I saw a fantastic meme about fair play to the lino, not wanting another half hour of this crap.
He knew it was offside, he just didn't want a flag.
Yeah. Oh, this is boring me to tears. Yeah. I mean, that just goes to show how poor the standard of officiating is, isn't it? And the fact that VAR there is too much of a comforter for them.
Yeah.
Well, if I get it wrong, it's all right because VAR's there. But then, if you're like, for me, if you're not using it in the FA Cup, then you don't use it at all. But it's going to come in next round.
It's next round, yeah. And they're going to start using the semi-automated as well. I don't think from the next round. I just know that they're bringing that in.
Is that going to be in the league or just for the FA Cup?
Well, they are going to bring it in for the league at some point, but
it was supposed to come in after September initially.
It was meant. I think it was at the very start of the season. It was due to come in. Then they pushed it back to after the first international break. Then they pushed it back to after the international break in March. I think they just had issues on the technology side of things, ensuring that it was working properly. Because in the Champions League, obviously, it works really well. And it makes decisions very quickly.
I know. It does work really well. But when you see that it's just offside by a kneecap, it's also a little bit
tedious.
Infuriating, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't agree with, like, if the hand's offside, well, you can't score a goal with your hand.
Yeah, well, they had, in the Premier League, they changed it to... They cut it off at the shirt sleeve, didn't they? Because that's where...
Yeah.
The point at which you can score still. No, that's the rules that they dictated. Anyway, the reason why I mentioned Manchester United, and obviously you brought up Ruben Amorim, against Leicester, for some reason, he started his right back in Dalot at left wing back and his newly signed left wing back, Dorgu, at right wing back. I have absolutely no idea why.
To cut in and cross the ball or shoot.
But it's like overcomplicating things for the sake of overcomplicating things. He's got a lot of goodwill behind him from United fans, but you start making very strange decisions, that can quickly evaporate, especially when you're obviously not getting results, because they're not.
I mean, it's complicated enough, isn't it, at United at the moment, without doing...
Adding to
around
it.
like that.
Yeah. Unless that was just because Dalot had been playing there previously, but I did not understand that. Obviously, they won the game in the end, but it was dross, and that was dross from both teams, because any time that they looked like they could progress the ball forwards, everyone wanted to pass the ball backwards. It was only until United brought on Garnacho at half time that they actually started doing things. So
he got man of the match, didn't he?
Yeah, deservedly so, because he actually ran at people and made a difference. Yeah.
Good lad.
Yeah. I did want to ask one thing about Liverpool on the FA Cup as well, in that did you think Arne Slot disrespected the competition by the team that he fielded against Plymouth?
Not really. I mean, it should still be a strong enough team to beat bottom of the Championship Plymouth, who've been struggling.
Yeah.
And I know they won because they got a penalty, but it was a penalty.
Yeah. But they deserved to win as well.
Yeah, well,
they good value for it.
They dug in, didn't they? So, yeah, no, fair play to them.
Yeah.
And, but that's... We spoke, and I've seen your clip about the magic of the cup. That's what's great about it, isn't it? Like, when you get those results. Obviously, it's not good if you're the team. Because we lost to Forest, didn't we, a few years ago? I don't know if that was the Championship at the time.
Yeah, they came up that season.
Yeah, so, yeah, and you want to see these. I mean, I've got to be honest, like, I was looking at it, and obviously Villa then played later on in the evening against Spurs. And I was saying to a Spurs fan at work, like, Liverpool have been knocked out, Arsenal are out, Man United are poor. Probably, you know, City aren't playing that well either.
No.
Best opportunity for a while. Like, you're out of the League Cup. I don't really see them winning Europe because of the way they are.
No.
And they can't get themselves up for it.
No.
Like, I mean, like literally 60 seconds in.
Yeah. And they had chances after that. Like you say, Son had a chance at 1-0 that he has to bury.
I mean, Villa had many chances as well.
Yeah.
I mean,
First
against a better team, they'll get found out if they don't take those chances. But, yeah, it's just bizarre.
Yeah, you have hit the nail on the head, though, in terms of the clubs that are left in it, because obviously, yes, City are a heavyweight and United are a heavyweight in terms of the size of the club. But in terms of actual quality, Forest are the highest ranking side left in. I know they came through a penalty shootout against Exeter, but I mean, the penalty shootout was never in doubt. It was Exeter put up a good fight in the 120 minutes, but as soon as it went to penalties, Forest's quality shone through. But Bournemouth have a great chance. Villa, Newcastle, Brighton, Fulham, Palace...
I would love, not as a bitter Arsenal fan, but I'd love to see someone different win it.
Yeah.
Like with the League Cup, I'd like to see Newcastle win it.
Yeah, but you'd like to think that the clubs that we just mentioned, because usually those clubs where they might be fighting relegation, for example, their attention will be on the Premier League, meaning they'll play a weaker side in the FA Cup. But because they're comfortably safe, yeah, some of them might be pushing for Europe, but there's a great chance to go and win a trophy. So put your strongest team out, go for it and see what happens.
Yeah, get your name in the history books.
Exactly.
Just because you get more money for your league position. Be like, oh, well, Bournemouth finished 8th. Okay, Bournemouth finished 10th and won the FA Cup. Yeah. Fantastic.
Is that Wigan? What do we remember Wigan for? I know they went down the same season, but remember it for Ben Watson's header against Manchester City, a team they should never have beaten. Final. But it's like etched in history.
They get relegated the same season as well, didn't they?
That's
quality, isn't it?
Yeah. Because then they were playing Europa League while in the Championship, which I think... I can't remember if Portsmouth did that as well. I don't think so. That might have been the only example of it. I feel like there was another club that did it, but maybe not.
Maybe Cardiff? Because did Cardiff play a Premier League team in the final and they were...
Oh, no,
and that team's already in Europe?
Because it used to change, didn't it? Because when if a club got through to the final of the League Cup, even if they lost, if the club that they lost to finished top 4, say, then the club that finished runner-up would get a pass into Europe.
Yeah.
And obviously that used to happen with the League Cup as well. And Cardiff got to the final in 2011 or 2012 and lost against Liverpool on penalties.
Oh,
but yeah, I'm sure there was another example, but Wigan is the one that stands
far
out.
better than I do with your knowledge and your football brain.
Just remembering. Weird knack of remembering. Did you enjoy the weekend without VAR though? Do you think that football was more entertaining without it?
Quicker. Not having to wait for all these decisions and drawing the lines and all that sort of stuff.
And you could actually celebrate when a goal has gone in.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I mean, I didn't think too much of it really. I'd watched the Newcastle-Birmingham game.
That was a great game, that one.
What's the lad's name in midfield?
Oh, you know what? Let me get his name.
Iwata or something?
Igata or...
No, not Igata. Something along those lines. He gets a tickaboo!
He does get a tickaboo.
But what annoyed me with that, because I've seen you got Willock's equaliser, like, at half-time, they're all slating the lino going...
Iwata. Tomoki Iwata.
Yeah, because they went Iwata goal, didn't they? I think Shearer said that in commentary. But they're slating the lino at half-time going... He's got to be 100% certain, he's not 100% certain, so he can't give that goal, etc., etc., etc. But on the flip side, if he didn't give that goal, you'd be like saying, you'd be tearing him out for that as well. He made a decision, and he stood by his decision. He gave the goal. Did the whole ball cross the line?
I don't think it did.
It's too blurry.
Yeah.
Do you think it did?
I don't think it did. No.
I know, because I think the keeper probably got his hands, even though he was in the goal, I think he's probably got his hands and the whole ball hasn't crossed the line. It's probably like that tiny bit of the ball.
Yeah.
But again, the fact that there's no goal decision system either, they give it as they see it.
Yeah. And he's obviously given it because he wasn't in line, because he's seen the keeper that far behind the line, which he was. He then naturally assumed that the ball was over the line. So I do understand why he gave it.
Yeah.
That's obviously just where you want goal line technology.
But I think slating him, because it was, I want to say Curtis Davis?
It was, Shearer, Curtis Davis, and I think Shay Given as well was in the studio.
Maybe. I can't remember. But absolutely slating him. And it's just like, well, he's given a decision what he believes has happened. And likewise, if it was the other way, they'd have been like, oh, well, that's a goal and blah, blah, blah. And he should be in line. And he's not in line. But I just thought, well... He's made a decision. He's helped out the referee, who isn't certain.
Yeah.
So fair play.
Yeah,
And he gave the offside, and it was offside because Newcastle had another goal, and he gave it offside, didn't he, straight away?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I thought they had a good game on the officials on that one.
Yeah, I didn't think it was a goal, but I can understand why he's given it. Yeah. It's just one of those things, isn't it?
But even with all those replays, you still can't say for certain either way. No one can.
I agree.
So,
I agree. Yeah, it only would have been...
Cut the bloke some slack, please.
And
I'd be saying that as an Arsenal fan if it happened against Arsenal.
I know. I feel like we have to qualify that every single time we say it.
Well, no, because you always go, oh, if that happened against Arsenal, you would be like, well, no, actually, I can understand it.
Yeah.
I can understand it, and at least he had a set of balls to make an actual decision.
Yeah, but that's why the only technology, if you're taking VAR out of the game, it's not going to go anywhere. I'm just talking hypothetically, but the only technology that does need to be there is goal line technology. Obviously, Birmingham couldn't have it because they were a League One club, even though I think they did previously have it in the Championship. But yeah, with the absence of goal line technology, as you said, the liner made the best decision that he could at the time. So yeah, move on.
Yeah. Right,
let's come to Arsenal, because I do want to talk about our injury issues. So specifically, attacking injury woes. Obviously, Martinelli is out for a month to the middle of March because of the muscle pull that he suffered against Newcastle. Hamstring. Havertz did his hamstring while on the training camp in Dubai and will be out for the rest of the season. Obviously, Saka's not back until March from his hamstring tear. Jesus is out for the rest of the season. So what do you think we should do now with the options that we have?
I think we should try and re-sign Aaron Ramsdale and stick him up top.
I'm saying start Calafiori up top.
I know.
Start Calafiori up top. I'm not even joking. The goal against City, the half volley against Wolves, and I don't know if you saw the highlights against Girona in the last match day of the Champions League, but he was offside. The finish, though, across far post.
I did see that, yeah.
Cultured. Yeah, stick him up top.
Yeah. I think they should try and find one of the kids from one of the youth teams and give him a chance.
Where he was on the bench against Leicester, one of the young lads. Obviously, we brought on Marino and he did the business, ultimately.
Sterling started today and done absolutely nothing, so I think that's him done, really. Doesn't contribute jack.
No, it's amazing. I don't know if it's just devoid of confidence or what's happened to his game, but he can't take the ball past anyone.
Someone once said that he was a system player that I worked with, and it's looking more and more like that, isn't it?
Yeah, well, he used to arrive all the time. Don't get me wrong, the timing to arrive is something that is hard to work on, but you think about all the goals that he scored for City, all the times he'd cut the ball back and he would be there to finish it off. So it kind of proves your point.
Yeah, I just think even if Liverpool, we're talking about Liverpool's blip, we've now got so many injury problems. I mean, today, I didn't really see the game, but it sounds like it was a bit of a struggle. And if you're saying Odegaard isn't shooting, you need your players to shoot from distance.
Well, the only one that did was Ranieri, and I know he didn't score, but he clipped the bar. I think he hit the post, and it's just general all-round play.
Don't worry, that'd be coached out of him. Arteta would be like, Ethan, you know when you shot, pass it sideways.
You know the best thing about him today. I mean, I keep shooting from my perspective because they'll go in. Your goalie got scored against City, like you'll score the odd one. The best thing about him today, though, was how well he kept the ball. Everyone was giving the ball away. I didn't say everyone, but I don't remember him first half especially giving the ball away, and that was taking it under pressure, taking it past players. For 17 years old, like the lad has got something. He's different gear.
But that also says something about our dire transfer policy over the summer as well, where we're relying on a 17-year-old lad to carry the team essentially.
No, I know. Or as we've said, as much as I joke about, or I'm serious about sticking Calafiori up top, how can you be in a position in mid-February to be needing to rely on Marino today or a left-back, hypothetically, as your number 9? I know we've had injuries, but we were one injury away from this in January.
Well, maybe you should have bought a striker instead of Calafiori. He obviously didn't know Lewis Skelly was going to come through and do as well as he's done.
No. Or Tierney or Zinchenko that we've also still got on the books at left-back.
Yeah, but Zinchenko can also play in the middle, can't he?
He barely ever plays.
He's not using him anymore.
No, he only plays there in central midfield for Ukraine.
Yeah,
I've always been an advocate of playing Zinchenko in midfield, but yeah. So you mentioned briefly about trying to compete with Liverpool, but is there any realistic way that we can compete for either the Premier League or the Champions League this season with the squad that we have left?
I'm going to say no.
Yeah, I think.
Only because I don't really want to jinx it. I mean, they could do potentially, but I don't want to get my hopes up because, as we know as Arsenal fans, it's the hope that kills you.
Yeah, but there's being optimistic and there's just being downright. I'll bring it back to Nigel Pearson. You got your head in the sand.
You, Sarah, and Ostrich.
Yeah.
Well, there's being optimistic, and then there's remembering that Michael Oliver gave knockout a penalty. So, yeah, I don't know. I'll just enjoy it. Hopefully they'll try to enjoy it because, yeah.
Let's see what happens. But it does also feel like we're going to become even more pragmatic, i.e., even harder to watch because we're going to have to rely so much on not conceding goals because we can't score as many as we have done in previous seasons.
It's like Arsenal of the 90s under George Graham.
Yeah.
They need to get the goal early and then shut up shop.
Not leave it to the last 10 minutes.
They need to get Tony Adams in for a bit of defensive coaching, didn't they?
He was just practicing for Strictly, wasn't he? There's your thumbnail right there.
No, please don't do that.
I don't know if it's yours or mine.
Don't do that to me.
Do you think Arteta deserves any criticism for the injury crisis that we currently face?
No. I mean, you can go and do warm weather training and then get injured.
Yeah,
Is it because he went from cold to hot too soon?
Supposedly, he did it trying to block a shot. I don't know if it's... Because sometimes, obviously, you block a shot, your leg can then extend if you've been hit by the ball, if it makes sense. Or he could have just overstretched. I feel like that's more likely and torn it that way. But to me, it does feel like the writing has been on the wall a little bit, only because of how many times the same players, the same team has been starting.
Yeah.
That's the only criticism.
Because the squad's not big enough.
Yeah, but I mean, he could have trusted more in younger players or could have rolled the dice a little bit more in previous seasons, in my opinion. Or for some of the other competitions, just make the odd change.
Yeah. Without being like hypocritical, I'm saying Arteta isn't to blame, but then it's the same thing that I've said about Postecoglou, where the Spurs fans have blamed him for the injuries. Yeah. If your players are that tired, then cancel the training session then. If you're that worried about them, just have them come in, do a little bit of cardio, cool down, get their massages, all that sort of rubbish.
Well, it comes to a certain point in the season, in my view anyway, Dad and I always talk about this, that if you're playing every week or playing 2 games a week, you shouldn't really need to be doing training anymore, because you don't need to build your fitness. You just need to keep your body ticking over and ensure you're prepared properly. You shouldn't be doing any long runs or anything like that, anything fitness wise.
That's all the tactics, isn't it? All the tactics, all that sort of nonsense.
But then obviously we're not privy to what they are doing on the training pitch. So no, I mean,
playing, you never walk alone.
Yeah, that was embarrassing. Might get that before May at the end of the season when we go there.
Who knows?
It does almost feel like the last thing I want to say on Arsenal, though. We talked about it at the time that the news came out of Edu leaving his role, and we said, not sure about the impacts longer term, but short term it might hurt us in January. It certainly does feel like we've had a little bit of an effect in that.
January's a hard month to do business these days as well, though, because people want more money for their players, and then they've got to try and replace their stars that you're trying to buy. So I'm not overly enamoured with the January transfer window. I think it's sort of died a death a little bit, unless you're City, who will happily pay whatever it is to try and rebuild his team for next season.
But you could have done something short term. So Evan Ferguson, for example, I know he is not the option long term, but West Ham signed him on loan. Could that have he have not been brought in, so we have a recognised centre forward?
I don't know.
Better than the options we've currently got.
I think is there a couple of players who are still on free transfers? So
yeah, I think Arteta was asked that in his press conference the other day about would you go after a free transfer? It depends who's available, who's around.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, we might have to now after these injuries, but who knows?
Yeah. Right, let's bring it to Chelsea. Do you think their form is a cause for concern?
If you're a Chelsea fan, yeah.
Are you concerned by their form?
Not at all. No.
You enjoying their form?
Bibbidi bobbidi goes down. Enjoying it? No, I don't really care.
But with your most objective, neutral hat on possible, I mean, what have you made of them recently? It's only 2 wins in the last 9 Premier League games. Is it just a blip, or is this something that could affect them longer term?
It's a blip, and I'm not sure if we said it on this podcast, but Maresca had the similar sort of thing last year at Leicester, didn't he? From January, February time. They can't use the excuse of the squad, the amount of players they've got. I know they've got injuries, but they've also got the cast of 300, haven't they? So,
well, they spent, since the new owners are coming, I think they spent £1.5 billion, something like that.
$1 billion,
literally. But they still don't have. I know Jackson's injured, but a proper number 9 or somebody better than Jackson to play up top. A goalkeeper that is top 6 worthy.
Well, we dropped Sanchez, didn't he, after the FA Cup? And then, like we already discussed at the beginning, even the third goal, I think it was, beating at his near post.
Yeah.
Like,
I know.
It's, to be honest, his goalkeeping situation is like the Ask Wilf situation, isn't it, on Twitter?
One that you don't want to answer. Yeah. It's just amazing, the reaction of some Chelsea fans.
Maybe they can get Kepa from Bournemouth.
I think, he's not out of contract at Chelsea at the end of the season. He might have another year still. But it's amazing, the reaction of Chelsea fans on social media. They have a blip.
They're not the real fans.
I know.
They've not been Chelsea fans since the 80s and 90s when Chelsea were rubbish. They're the Abramovich era fans. Yeah, that's right. You're the Abramovich era fans. You don't know nothing.
Hence why all the comments underneath those social media posts is, can we get Abramovich back? Can we bring Abramovich back? Like, no, I don't think so. Yeah, no, I mean, in terms of, I know you said it's the reaction of fans on social media. It is just interesting, though, because some of those fans that back before they went on this run of form in the last 9 games, saying that, oh yeah, we're close to Liverpool, we're part of a title race. 9 games later, genuinely 9 games later, and it's now completely flipped that it should Maresca out. Like, what?
I mean, not clickbaity. I don't want to say they'd be lucky to get top 4, but they're now dropping to that point where they need to pick up if they want to finish in the top 4.
But then it almost feels like that would be a similar season to what they enjoyed last year, because Pochettino got them to finish 6th because they had a really good run at the end of the season, got them to a cup final that they should have won, but they didn't take their chances against Liverpool.
It's almost like they've done the reverse, isn't it?
Yeah.
They started off really well, almost continuing from Pochettino.
Yep.
And now starting to tail off.
Yeah.
But I do think that's potentially the way they train, maybe. And like I say, he had that issue at Leicester last season, which is why I'm saying potentially why they train. And they are reliant on Cole Palmer.
Yeah.
And he's not in amongst the goals at the moment.
No, but then it's you talking about the way they train. Maybe they've just been figured out because we
well.
said previously all season long. The reason why we said they haven't been part of the title race at any point is because defensively they haven't been good enough. But we said at the time, when I asked the question previously, that they were still exciting to watch going forwards. Obviously, you eulogised about Cole Palmer, rightfully so, because he's such a good player to watch. But now they look turgid. It's just possession for the sake of possession. And I'm not saying that's down to Cole Palmer. It's more the attacking unit in general.
Well, I remember I slated him, Guy Mowbray, talking about, I think when did they draw or lose at Palace? Anyway.
They drew at
and
Palace.
Basically saying how Palmer looked jaded and tired. And
yes.
Maybe he is. But, all right, we'll leave him out then for a couple of games. Give him a break.
Oh, because the player that they could have left him out for, João Felix, who they signed in the summer for...
He's gone out on loan, isn't he?
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
What are they doing? That's the owner side of thing, though. The owner the sporting directors.
Again, that's just poor management, isn't it, from that side of things?
Yeah. Because it makes me also wonder, if they don't get Champions League, they're not going to have that influx of money. What are they going to be able to do in the transfer business? Obviously, Chelsea being
Chelsea... They're going to do the
City
City blueprint, it's fine.
They'll find ways around it, it feels like. But I don't know.
But yeah, I mean, when you think about the reverse fixture, how much... What was it, 4-0 in the first half? Because Palmer scored 4 goals?
4-1, I think it was, because he scored that lovely free kick too. And they won 4-2 overall, or 5-2, whatever it was. Yeah.
Yeah. And then get done, on aggregate, 5-1, isn't it?
Yeah, or more to the point, they lost 2-1, again, deservedly so, against Brighton in the FA Cup. You would have thought there might have been a reaction. There was nothing. They were even worse.
Yeah. Well, I had him losing 2-1 again, because I just thought, oh, well. But yeah, he's got the problem with the keepers. Like you say, defence isn't good enough. I mean, the whole team's built around Cole Palmer. If he's not on song, then the team isn't performing. No. And that's probably what the basis of it is, really, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. It hasn't been on song for the last 9 games. Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, but you can't then be that reliant on one single player. So.
No, you can't.
No. Talking of City, which you mentioned in that when we were talking about Chelsea, do you think Guardiola should be doing a better job without Rodri?
Yes.
Yeah.
I thought it was hilarious, though, that his new defensive midfielder can only last 25 minutes against League One Leyton Orient. And the fact that they wanted a foul.
He got bullied off the ball.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. The reason why I asked the question specifically about City is because of the big defeats that they've suffered in the last few weeks. So obviously Arsenal, they got done 5-1 at the Emirates. Madrid in midweek 3-2. I don't know if you've seen those highlights.
I did see those highlights, yeah. Mbappe didn't get the
great
connection
finish.
he wanted. Yeah, but that happens sometimes, doesn't it? He didn't get the connection he wanted, but it went in.
Yeah.
He was trying to get it that way, wasn't he? But
back across the keeper. He was obviously made the run and the other defeat, PSG, which they deservedly got battered 4-2.
I like Bellingham's goal as well. But I didn't realise Brahim Diaz played for City.
Yeah, well, for all of about 5 minutes, I think.
Yeah,
Brahim Diaz.
Was he being so respectful? I know. I was taking the rise by calling him Brian.
Yeah,
but
he wasn't that as respectful when Bellingham scored, because obviously he went to celebrate quite largely with Bellingham, but fair play.
Well, Bellingham took the rise out of Haaland, didn't he? Because when Haaland scored, he did that sort of marching off, and that's what Bellingham did when he scored.
I didn't realise
that's what I think. That's what I think he was doing.
Yeah.
Haven't seen the outrage of that on CBS though, have we, Jamie?
Obviously not, because it's Jude Bellingham and it's Real Madrid,
and he wants Jude Bellingham to go to Liverpool because he really wants to play with his friend Trent. No, I think he'll find Trent's going
the other way. Yeah, Trent's going the other way. It was Agent
under
Jude
the guise of I want to win a Ballon d'Or.
Did you, talking of Ballon d'Or, did you see the banner that City put up?
Yes, I did. Yeah, don't cry. I mean, there's banter and then there's grow up.
Yeah.
Although social media, obviously, someone's got onto that and changed that to Real Madrid players after beating them or something. Like, don't cry. So yeah.
I mean, Real Madrid were the club in that situation that acted with no class by not sending anyone to the Ballon d'Or ceremony, so you don't need to do anything about it. Also, they have 14 Champions Leagues to your one. Like, come on.
I know. Stay humble.
literally. Yeah. Let's come to a couple of other clubs before we round up. So Ipswich first. Again, specifically, how costly could their defeat at home against Southampton prove to be, do you think?
Not very costly, because they're down anyway.
So you've gone back to... We seem to flip-flop quite a lot based on...
Yeah, because they look like they're going to kick on. I'm sorry, if you can't beat Southampton at home, who are properly struggling, then you're done for, aren't you? So when I saw they lost 2-1, I was just like... Because they went 1-0, I think I was here.
Southampton went 1-0 up.
Yeah, Southampton went 1-0 up, and I was here. And I was saying to Dad, I was like, that's all right, Ipswich will equalise in a minute. And they did. And I was like, oh, they'll kick on from there. No. It's just so poor.
And I don't mean to dig him out again, but in that game, it was the keeper, Muric, because he should have done a lot better with the first one. And then even the second one, he could have pushed around the post or done a little bit better. Again, not giving it straight back.
Was that one where he put it back in the middle, I think? Yeah.
It was the first one that he should have done a lot better with.
Yeah. I have seen the highlights. I vaguely remember, but I do remember, like, when you're a keeper, if you save it, you need to try and push it out wide, don't you? And they didn't do that.
But obviously, he had been dropped for the other keeper. They then since signed a new goalkeeper from West Brom in the January transfer window. Obviously, the game against Southampton came around the close of the January transfer window when they signed that keeper. But it would be interesting for me to see if he's going to bring that keeper in straight away, because Muric, for most of the season, hasn't been good enough. And he also reminds me, bearing in mind that he came up obviously last season with Burnley, but he reminds me of that group of players that continue to get relegated, join a newly promoted side, and then get relegated again. Yeah. Like almost of the Kieran Richardson ilk or players like that.
The Ayew brother who broke it when he went to Palace, didn't he?
Jordan
Ayew, yeah, because he got relegated a couple of times, didn't he?
Yeah.
Ramsdale got relegated a couple of times, broke it when he went to Arsenal. But then you say that, you wonder why didn't Ipswich go for him?
Ramsdale?
Yeah, because he'd do a better job, wouldn't he, than Muric?
Yeah, bearing in mind they've obviously just signed a goalkeeper. Unless he...
No, it's in like, why didn't they do it in the summer?
No, I know. Unless because they signed Muric in the same window, that they thought Muric would have been a better option. I don't know.
You thought wrong, dude.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I can't believe they got done by Southampton, but...
No, neither can I. Then I still can't believe Michael Oliver gave a penalty to Anthony Lockhart, so...
I don't think you'll ever be able to believe that. All right,
seriously, I won't. Like, no. Every time that comes up, I'm like, no, that's not a penalty. He gave a penalty! What's he doing? It's like I've got Alzheimer's already, honestly. I'm like, what?
No, I'm in agreement, though, because... Yeah, that game though, all of it was all about him.
And then when I see Troy Deeney scoring, I'm like, give that man a double box.
Take out the speed bumps for his Lamborghini.
He is better than a lot of top class strikers.
Name a striker. I'll give you a list of strikers. As soon as you think one's better than Troy Deeney, make a noise. Timu Pukki, Chris Wood, Marcus Rashford, Kai Havertz.
Brazilian Ronaldo.
Honestly, the ego on that fella. My God.
Almost at Bentner levels, isn't it?
Yeah, genuinely.
Although, speaking of, we had this conversation about there aren't any decent strikers. One flashed up from the other day, Roque Santa Cruz. Remember when he was at Blackburn?
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure he went to City, didn't he?
He got moved to City after that.
Yeah. I mean, that era, that 2005 to 2015 era of strikers, good Lord, we were spoiled.
It's the comparison... There's always a thing going around on social media, the comparison between top six strikers in 2012 compared to top six strikers now. So Arsenal, Van Persie to Havertz. City, obviously they got Haaland, but they had Aguero back in 2012. United had Rooney and likes of that. Hernandez, I think, was there too. And now it's Højlund and Xerxes. Yeah. Chelsea had Drogba, and now it's Jackson. It's mental. But
then when you think, like... Bolton had Anelka at one point before Chelsea obviously signed him. Like we say, Blackburn had Roque Santa Cruz.
Benny McCarthy as well, who I think was there at the same time. I know he wasn't the same level, but he did a good job.
Then Defoe was at like Spurs and Portsmouth and places like that. I mean, there's so many of them. Yeah. Like he says, and I can't even remember now. But
I know. But if you were to literally have a list of that time, Obafemi Martins, I know he didn't really do it a great job in the Premier League, but he was still.
Did it in the League Cup against us, though, didn't he, for Birmingham?
Just
because Koscielny couldn't clear the ball.
Koscielny and Szczesny.
Yeah.
That era was just different, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You could literally just spend 10, 15 minutes naming random players. Another one from Blackburn, was it Tugay?
Midfielder, but
honestly, when the ball came out to him on the volley, the amount of perlers that he scored.
Oh, speaking of Blackburn, Morten Gams Pedersen. Yeah. It was a winger, but again...
Proper Barclaysmen is what was going around at the start of the season. Chris Samba as well at the back.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just talking of different players and strikers. I know it's a bit earlier, but Di Canio.
Yeah. Freddie Canute as well. Is he?
Canute, West Ham and Tottenham. He was at West Ham and Spurs. Yeah. Not the worst.
No.
Yeah. Aye.
Different era, isn't it?
Aye.
Spoiled
for choice.
Andy Johnson as well. I only mentioned his name because we're about to talk about Crystal Palace.
Yay.
So
Before we go to that,
yeah,
I think it was the year of the London terrorist attacks. So was that 2007?
I think it's 2005, isn't it? It was 7/7 in 2005.
Or 2005. So
Yeah, because it's 20th anniversary this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, apologies for getting the year wrong. But I went to a friendly game at Crystal Palace. Grandad took me. Playing Inter Milan.
You said this before on the
I don't
podcast.
have I said it on the podcast?
You said it on the
Oh
podcast
my
before.
goodness, the fan behind me. Go on, Johnson. Do something, Johnson. Come on, Johnson. Johnson, do something. It's like, dude, your championship there, Inter Milan.
But also when he was in the Premier League with Crystal Palace, didn't he score like a 20+ goal season for Palace?
I think 19 and a half of those were penalties.
Still, he has to stick him away.
No, I think 10 were penalties. I'm being disingenuous. Yeah, no, but he had to finish them.
Yeah.
And then it was like that game as well. It was Fitzall, one size against Adriano. And he's like, oh, come on, do something again. He bullied him that game. But it was, good.
Yeah.
It was just hilarious
It's
listening to this fan.
On a similar level then, because I think about a decade ago, Bournemouth, when they were about to come up to the Premier League, had a pre-season friendly with Real Madrid at the Vitality Stadium. So you had Cristiano Ronaldo and Benzema just casually playing on the South Coast. I don't know how that got organised, but
There you go.
yeah. And talking of old centre forwards, Fulham, Brian McBride, remember him? Clint Dempsey as well, the Americans.
Yeah.
Mad, isn't it?
They had Lewis Morte as well.
Louis Saha as well when he was there.
Saha, because he went to
different.
United
Gravy.
and Everton. Yeah.
Everton, Tim Cahill, Yakubu.
Yakubu,
Oh.
yeah. He went to Middlesbrough, didn't he? Did he come from Portsmouth as well, Yakubu,
I think
didn't he?
so.
To Everton?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, talking of Portsmouth, you got Benjani.
Oh, Benjani, yeah. Didn't want to leave Portsmouth, did he? You seen that, Harry, read that thing? Yeah. I love that, though, because when he was at City, they played at United. I think they beat him 2-1. And he's doing that celebration in the United fans after scoring.
It was 2007-2008 season. It was only the anniversary of that the other day because United were in the traditional kit because it was, I think, 50 years since Munich or 40 years since Munich. But that year, I remember that game specifically because I think it was a 2 o'clock kickoff on a Sunday. James and I got home from the park. We'd seen that United lost 2-1. We were competing for the title, at least up until sort of March, April time. And I think we then went about 5 points clear. And James was like, yeah, we're going to win the league. We're going to win the league. Did we?
Yeah. That might be the same season where we beat Blackburn at home and Paul Merson's like, that's it, they've got one hand on the title in the January. And it's like, it's only 5 points. Again, so reactionary.
Yeah. I think that one would also have been the same season when we were sort of trying to hang on at the end of the season to United, and we did Bolton.
Would that be when Eduardo got his injury as well, though? Because he was banging in the goals.
Yes,
and then Matty Taylor at Birmingham, or whatever his name was like, you know
Centre
what?
half.
I don't think you need 2 legs, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and I always remember seeing the picture in the paper afterwards of his bone poking through his sock.
Yeah.
You can tell, I mean, on the reaction of the players, I remember Hleb and Fabregas sort of turning away and crying.
Yeah.
You knew it was bad on the pitch, but then when you're seeing that picture in the paper as well, like, Jesus
grim, wasn't it? It was awful.
Yeah.
Absolutely awful.
Yeah.
But that all stemmed from the whole kick him off the pitch side of things.
Yeah.
Disgraceful.
But that kick him off the pitch felt like it had come from previous teams. Obviously, United.
Tony Pulis, Sam Allardyce, and probably Man United started it on the 50-50 game, didn't they?
Yeah, because it's the only way it felt like that they could beat an Arsene Wenger team at that time.
Yeah. How did we get there from Crystal Palace?
Naming old strikers.
I know.
Genuinely. We should just have an episode where we list old Premier League players. Don't need to say anything else.
Even Birmingham had Mikel Forssell from Chelsea. It wasn't good enough for Chelsea, but he was good.
Yeah, he was decent, wasn't he?
Sunderland had a couple of decent ones. Who did they have up front?
Obviously, Kevin Phillips when he scored his 30-goal
Kevin Phillips,
season.
I was thinking after that. No, his name's gone. Kenwyne Jones.
Yes. Yeah, from Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah. Kenwyne Jones.
John Carew, Aston Villa. Oh my God.
Don't talk to me about him. He always knocks out the Champions League for Valencia.
I know, but John Carew. What was the song? I can't remember the song, but I also remember him criticising Zlatan Ibrahimovic, and then Ibrahimovic's response was what John Carew can do with a football, I can do with an orange. But fair enough, mate. Probably.
I don't know the John Carew song, but I know the Kenwyne Jones song.
Yeah, I think we'll leave that one out.
Yeah, no, don't want to do that one.
Nah. We had enough edits.
Kevin Doyle at Reading.
Yes, yeah, because I think he also.
Dave Kitson at Reading. He wasn't too bad either.
No. And was it Leroy Lita as well? Leroy Lita. Leroy Lita. Yeah, when they first came up.
Bloody hell. When they invent time travel, I'm going back to that era, putting on a crap load of money as well. I'm going back to that era and just enjoying it. And I'm gonna be that proper old geezer with all these young like, you never see this again. Like,
Yeah.
enjoy it. You don't know what you got coming
Yeah.
in the 20s.
You don't know when the good times are gone
Yeah,
until
I know.
they're gone.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Right, Crystal Palace. 'Cause we should we should go back.
Was that about 15 minutes? Thank you for sticking with us if you've still been here.
It's the nostalgia. It's
I know.
brilliant. I love
I
it.
know, quality. You're going to have like 15-year-olds going, what are you on about?
I don't care. I don't care. Go and search
Jackson's
them
a
all.
quality striker.
You don't even know the half of it. Yeah. Right, Crystal Palace. Because the question I wanted to ask about them is related to Oliver Glasner. So it's his 1 year anniversary in charge of Palace next week. So how have you rated his time in charge of the club so far?
Pretty good.
I knew you were going to say that. Hibernian Insurance. Yeah. And do you think the better question to ask is he a manager that they can stick by for the long term?
I think so.
Yeah.
Like, they had a tough start at the beginning of the season, but new centre-half pairing.
Obviously, they lost Elise and Anderson, which I know
as well, yeah.
Lacroix, you've said, and Jim the Greggs, our resident Palace fan, has said that he's better than Anderson. But at the time when you're losing the Premier League established centre-half and you're bringing somebody in from a different league, they might need time to adapt to the country, to the system, to the league. So
I think it's good he was given time, because everything can be too reactionary, can't it? Also, you've got to think of Dean Ashton and Craig Bellamy as a couple of strikers. Quality.
Dean Ashton, it wasn't injuries, yeah.
Yeah, well, ended his career, didn't it? The injuries.
Yeah, the goal against Old Trafford, the overhead kick. Remember that?
No, not off the top of my head.
I'll have to show you that, because I think even the United players...
Was that for West Ham?
West Ham, in the white kit, when they had the blue XL sponsor.
Oh, maybe.
And the ball got knocked up. Rio Ferdinand was sort of challenging him, but he didn't expect Dean Ashton to do what Dean Ashton did.
It didn't have to do it high, did he? Was he a bit mid-range?
No, I'd say it was about Rio Ferdinand's... the ball was at Rio Ferdinand's head, because he could have stuck his head in, but he didn't expect Dean Ashton to do what Dean Ashton did. And I think it was Van der Sar in goal just sort of went, fair enough. Yeah.
Anyway, Glasner's done well, I think. I think the board's did well to stick by him, because, again, some fans with their reactions, tough start. It helped beating Spurs, and I'm not having a dig at Spurs, but that it obviously
kickstarted their season. Yeah,
a little bit, because it was the Leicester game, wasn't it, when I went 2-0 down and they pulled it back to 2-2, and really we were saying those home matches you need to win.
That was at the start of the season before they'd beaten Tottenham, because at the start of this year they went no wins in the first 8 is what I've written down. And also, when you factor in when he first joined the club, it was only 1 win in his first 6 games, and that win came in his very first game against Burnley. He has had spells where they haven't picked up as many points as maybe they should have, but to me, the Palace fans haven't got on his back that much, because they can see the performances on the pitch. They are climbing the table. They are a decent team. If you can build with him at the helm, then it could be exciting times.
Slow at the blocks, weren't they? But the name of the game, if you're not a Big Six club, stay in the Premier League. Yeah. Look what happens if you don't. I mean, look at Leicester. Probably back down, aren't they? As well.
Yeah, and as much as people might criticise Palace, so since they were promoted in 2013, they've only ever finished in the top half once, and I think that was last season, and they finished 10th. But obviously, they have been a Premier League ever present since 2013. Yeah. I think the 3 times they were in the league before that, they went down at the first time of asking. So they are Premier League ever present, as we say now. So yeah, very good.
And you need to remember that, because otherwise, look at some of the other teams who've gone down, and Stoke are now pretty much battling relegation
in the Championship.
Luton. Birmingham down to League One.
I know, obviously Luton's only last season, but Luton are bottom of the league.
I know. Southampton, a few seasons ago, well, not a few seasons ago, but went down to League One before coming back up to the Premier League when they got established.
With Nigel Adkins, yeah. Jay Rodriguez is another centre forward. I know that was 2013 time, but he would have gone to the World Cup in 2014 if he didn't do his cruciate at City.
James Beattie.
Yes. Yeah. Even John Stead at Sheffield United. I know he was crap, but
but he still scored a few goals here and there.
Yeah. How good was Hernan Crespo at Chelsea?
Bit hot and cold. Scored a great goal against Arsenal.
Yeah.
A bit similar to the Perez's one against Liverpool the week before.
Yeah.
He was a bit hot and cold, and I think he went back out on loan. That was the season when Abramovich first came in.
2003.
And that was Ranieri in charge that season. Yeah. Then Ranieri was booted out and Mourinho came in the season after that.
But I swear Crespo was then at Milan, AC Milan, for the 2004-05 season, because he played in the 2005 Champions League final.
Yeah, I think he was sent back out on loan. Yeah. Maybe he wasn't happy in London, or it didn't click or whatever.
No, but then he came back to Chelsea, as you say, because he's only on loan. And I remember him with their old badge in that black kit, the black and grey away kit. I think he scored a good goal at Wigan as well.
Yeah, maybe.
That season when they won the league. Yeah. I ask only because of his career path and the clubs that he was at. I couldn't quite remember. Anyway, are there any other clubs that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I think we should talk about Spurs a little bit.
Yeah.
Because obviously you put the clip out where I was saying he loses at Liverpool in the League Cup, and I think that's him done. And then he's also since then gone on to lose to Aston Villa. Now, I don't advocate sacking managers and all that sort of stuff. And I'm not actually going to be here going, oh, they should sack him. I think it's quite good how they've still stood by him. I don't know what's going on behind closed doors, but the media really tries to ramp it up and go, oh, he should be sacked and this, that and the other. We've discussed it before, the injuries and everything else, but maybe you take this really poor season for what it is, as long as you don't get relegated, which they won't, rebuild in the summer and go again from next season. And then if it's still like it October, November time, then maybe you change him. I don't know what Spurs fans will say, or maybe Spurs fans want him gone in the summer, but I sort of think, who are you going to get in though?
Well, Spurs fans' reactions, to speak on that only because of the comments that I've received on the clips that I put out, have been mostly supportive of him. There have been a few that say, no, enough is enough, especially because it's not just the going out of Liverpool, as you mentioned, it was going out 2 cup competitions in 3 days. But a lot of Spurs fans, the issues is with higher up the club.
Yeah.
And I think they also think that because of all the injury issues that they've had, if you get those players back, they like the way Postecoglou plays.
Yeah.
They have had decent results this season when everyone's been fit. Obviously, the 3-0 at United, the 4-0 at City were very good results. They do see something there that maybe can be there for the long term. But
and you can't, if the players can't finish the chances, I'm not, I've said it a couple of times, some of the chances he's had when it's been only 1-0 to get him back in the game and he's missed them.
Yeah, I know.
But there is a small part of me, it's just like, well, you were cheering the fact that City beat you. Had you won that, you'd have got Champions League. You'd may have been had a bit more money, but put in a bit more quality, a bit more squad depth, and you haven't got that. And now you're battling. I mean, they're not going to get relegated.
No, but they're nowhere near finishing European football, which could then inhibit them next season.
Oh yeah, no, it's a knock-on effect, isn't it? It's going to be another knock-on effect.
That's the mentality side of things, which Postecoglou, to his credit, and as we said at the time, called out.
He was fuming
season.
with it, wasn't he? Absolutely fuming with it. But there you go. So now he's got less resources to work with. But yeah, I just wanted to say that because I saw, like I say, with your clip, it was like, oh yeah, I think he's gone. But I'm not jumping on the bandwagon.
No,
that's just what I thought would happen because historically that has happened with a lot of managers.
But especially at Tottenham, they sacked Mourinho, as we always say, 3 days before a League Cup final against the Pep Guardiola side, and then you put Ryan Mason in charge, who at that time I think had taken charge of 2 or 3 games, if that.
But yeah, so I'm advocating for sticking by him. Just get to the end of the season.
Yeah, one thing you did mention as you were talking about there, though, was the media narrative, and I do find that quite interesting in the sense of when we talked about that Chelsea game last season. Obviously, the media reaction to that was he's so brave, as we've said so many times. But now, in the criticism of Postecoglou, people go back to that game and highlight that as an early indication of his flaws as a manager.
Oh, would that be Jamie Carragher?
And others, but it's like you can't have it both ways. You were so positive about him, and just because they're going through a more difficult patch now,
I know.
Don't change what you said at the time.
They're fickle, aren't they?
Yeah.
And that's why I don't pay for the Sky and all that sort of stuff. I can't stand the nonsense.
That's why we should be on these platforms, because we at the time said that wasn't brave, it was stupid. We haven't changed our tune.
No, exactly. Because we're not fickle.
No, don't do clickbait.
And being paid by the man. We're getting paid by no one. We're the smart ones.
slowly growing, as I keep saying. Anyway, any other clubs that you want to cover?
No, I don't think so.
If we recorded this last week, then we would have had a shout out for Forest. I guess this is what I'm doing, a shout out for Forest for the 7-0 win against Brighton. But again, equally, because Brighton have already played at the time of recording this weekend, they deserve a mention for recovering from that 7-0 defeat to beat Chelsea 3-0. So fair play to them both.
Yeah. I think Brighton had more of the ball and didn't play that bad, but Forest just were clinical, weren't they?
Yeah, well, Brighton almost took Forest's lessons, because Brighton had more of the ball against Forest but got done 7-0. Yesterday, Chelsea had 70% of the ball against Brighton and got done 3-0. The old adage of possession is like 7/10 of the game isn't true. As always, it's been what you do with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway.
I did like Kurtzler trying to get a penalty for Welbeck, though, who flicked his head back into the defender and then went down.
That was against
Forest, yeah. But again, that's because that's what he's been taught. Because if Saliba challenges, but yeah, just anyway.
Yeah. To wrap up then, table of results, which I will
Don't bother
cover.
after.
Not much has changed, really.
Casual fans.
11 games we had in match week 24. I got a grand total of 3 points. You got 3 points. And James got 4 points.
Hey.
Which leaves the overall scores. I'm on 151.
That was out of a potential 33 points.
We got 1/11. Less than 10%.
Less than 10%. And there's James.
Yeah, and just over 10%. Yeah, so I'm now on 151. You are on 139, and James is on 142. So it's still all to play for, I'd say.
Yeah.
Not too bad.
You could still do a Liverpool and have a blip.
Yeah, decent start this weekend there.
Yeah. It's not how you start.
It's how you finish.
And on that note,
Trebles for show, doubles for dough. Different analogy. Yeah, and on that note, I shall turn my chair and I look at the camera for the first time since the start of the episode.
turn your chair. What are you, a Bond villain?
Yeah. And on that note, thank you ever so much for watching. As always, if you enjoyed the content, please do smash a like, drop a comment, subscribe. Again, as I said, slowly ticking up. But thanks to yourself for joining me, as always, talking about Premier League football and eulogising about 2000s Premier League football for about 15 minutes.
All those strikers, that was good.
You got any more before we wrap up?
No, but as soon as you finish, I'll probably go, oh, yeah. Just remember him?
Shoulder Amiobi. I mean, he was okay. I'm just thinking of Newcastle off the top of my head.
Papiss Cisse.
Demba Ba and Papiss Cisse.
Demba
The
Ba!
combination. And Ben Arthur, Chuck Ben Arthur in there. When Alan Pardew took Newcastle to 5th place within a few points of the Champions League, got rewarded with a 7-year contract that only expired about 2019, 2020.
Giovanni. I know he's not a striker,
Yes,
but
mustard, wasn't he?
good lord.
Yeah. I'm trying to think other clubs from that era.
Swansea, Michu had a good half a season.
A good season. He is a
Good season,
of a
okay.
1 season, 1 day.
Wigan.
Wonder.
I don't know.
Franco Di Santo, Hugo Rodallega. Oh my God.
The Egyptian.
Amizaki.
Yes, thank you.
Charles Nzogbia, because there was the game at the
Well,
DW.
Zogbia came from Newcastle as well, didn't he?
And Aston Villa, he was I think maybe after Wigan, but there was a game at the
On the horse, Aston Villa?
I didn't mention him earlier only because of all the stuff that he says on TalkSport now that I can't stand. But talking to Charles Nzogbia, do you remember the game at the DW Stadium, Wigan against Arsenal, where we were 2-0 up towards the end of one of the seasons? I can't remember what year it was, around the 2010s. 2-0 up with about 15 minutes to play. We conspired to lose it 3-2. Mikhail Silvestre playing centre half. So
Shock.
yeah.
Shock. I'm sure there could be other strikers, but
I think
you've already said goodbye.
Yeah.
So, you know.
We'll just carry on talking off the podcast.
And, we're recording.
Yeah.
But to end it, to quote Tim Sherwood.
Do we just need to turn?
Adebayor! There's another one!
I wasn't mentioning his name. I'd rather mention Pavlyuchenko as a name to throw out there.
Darren Bent, he was all right.
Yeah.
Until he went to Spurs.
he's
My
missing-
nan could score that. And she's been dead 15 years.
But then I think he went to Sunderland after that, or Villa, wherever he went, and he bagged another 20-odd goals. He was decent.
It was really good at Sunderland. Then he went to Villa, and
Yeah.
because that was always a strange one. Why, when he's in such form, why Sunderland sold him?
Yeah.
Obviously, the money was good, but I don't think he did as well at Villa.
He still scored a decent number of goals though around that time. Anyway,
Marcus Bent, still not as good, but yeah.
Ipswich, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Matt Holland, I think, was one as well at Ipswich.
Midfielder,
And Charlton, yeah. Gee, Charlton had a few. Herman Hreiderson, I always remember from the old Premier League years.
Well, Jason Yule,
Yeah,
he was quality at Wimbledon, and then went to Charlton and didn't do too badly either.
yeah. I mean, that's early 2000s because that's when Charlton were in the Prem,
Yeah.
established Premier League side, yeah. Didn't Jason Yule score in the 01-02 season? He scored a goal or two at Highbury that we then lost against Charlton 2-1. And after that game, I think it was mid-February, we didn't drop any more points. That was the year that we went on to win the league at Old Trafford.
Oh, I don't know, maybe.
That's
I'm not
only
sure.
Premier League years knowledge, I think.
I don't know, because I don't know when he left Wimbledon for Charlton, but
Yeah.
but yeah.
So Victor Anichebe as well at Everton, but he was okay.
Mm.
Not like Josie Altidore. I mean, he's a awful one to end it on because I think he only scored one Premier League goal.
He was at Sunderland as well for a little bit, wasn't
he was shite.
he? Rubbish strikers.
Yeah.
Giroud's up there.
Yeah, not according to the rest of the world. He's underrated.
Yeah. Chelsea fans think he's all right. Because he was very good with Hazard.
Yeah.
Because Hazard would ping him in the ball and he'd just be like, ball pass, there you go.
Yeah, but Ozil and Sanchez tried that with Giroud and he couldn't do it. He wouldn't do it. He wouldn't
Well,
be
no,
on the same wavelength.
Ozil created chances for him, didn't we?
Well,
That Champions League
Sorry,
clip I sent you.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Anyway, on that note, thank you so much for joining me. you shall hear us and see us on the next one.